Hey guys, Morktorkus here. So today I wanted to talk about stealth as a keyword. I had this idea for videos of making what I want to call a keyword breakdown, and this is going to be my first keyword breakdown. It's going to be for the stealth keyword. So what is stealth? Stealth is a keyword that allows the unit that has it to be untargeted by anything until it makes its first attack. It is currently a very underutilized keyword in the card pool, and it has seen very little competitive play over time. Currently, as of Galakron's Awakening, we have 2,325 cards in the entirety of Hearthstone, and 51 of them reference stealth in any manner whatsoever. That makes up just about 2.2% of all cards. Just in Standard, where we have currently 1,230 cards, there are only 28 that reference stealth, at just slightly higher at 2.3%. Interesting tidbit is that current Standard is actually 53% of all the cards ever released. So of those 51 cards, 30 of them actually specifically have stealth. 9 of them have stealth for one turn, which are the spirits from Rostakon's Rumble. 9 of those cards can bestow or gain stealth in some manner. Almost exclusively this is for only one turn though. 2 of those cards are stealth counter cards, which is Flare and Streetwise Investigator. And one of those cards is a card that buffs stealth minions, which is the Shadow Sensei. The 2 stealth counter cards have not really seen much play. Flare has seen play as a secret tech because it also destroys secrets, but it has never been there for the sake of removing stealth from anything. Stealth has never been popular enough for anyone to ever feel the desire to tech against it. And among this very small pool of cards, Rogue has almost all of the class stealth minions. Of course, Rogues being a stealthy class, it kind of makes sense for it to be that way. Warlock has 2 stealth minions, and they're both absolutely trash 1-drop imps, those being Blood Imp and Witchwood Imp. And Druid has 2 Choose One cards that have the ability to gain stealth, which are Druid of the Saber and Shellshifter. Hunter has Duskhaven Hunter, which was a Worgen card from Witchwood that would swap back and forth between 5 attack 2 health to attack 5 health. And they have the secret Cat Trick, which will summon a Jungle Panther, which was the 3-mana 4/2 stealth minion that's currently in the neutral classic set. And all the rest of the stealth cards are neutral. Okay, so given the small pool of cards, we can basically go through the entire release of all the stealth cards and break it down pretty easily. So the classic set had 6 stealth cards. There was Worgen Infiltrator, Jungle Panther, and Stranglethorn Tiger, which were 3 decent cards that had the ability to leverage the stealth and have not terrible stats that they wouldn't be totally useless. However, we also had Blood Imp, which was totally useless, waste of a card. Patient Assassin is a cool card because it has stealth and poisonous, but it's so easily cleared by even something as simple as Arcane Missiles that it never really gets to do much. And you got Ravenholt Assassin, which is just too expensive. For Naxxramas, we had 1 card. It was Shade of Naxxramas, and it was quite a good 3-drop because you would put it down, it is untargetable, and it would get stats every turn, and you would get to wait as long as you wanted before you would start trading with it. But normally you can't wait too long. Specifically, I remember it being in Druid lists such as the Combo Druid before they got rid of the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo. With GVG, we saw 3 stealth minions. Gilban Stalker was actually a well-statted 2-drop. It's a 2/3 for 2 mana with the stealth. I don't recall if it really saw play, but as a decent 2-drop, it probably would these days. Rogues had the Ogre Ninja, which was an expensive, unreliable minion. It was a 5 mana 6/6 that 50% of the time wouldn't hit the target you wanted it to. Definitely not worth it. And then Mini Mage was a 4 mana 4/1, and you can imagine why that didn't work. This was also when we got One-Eyed Cheat, which was a cool pirate card because it gained stealth every time you played another pirate. I'm pretty sure that did see some play back then, and it's definitely a cool concept that would be cool to see again. For Blackrock Mountain, we saw no stealth minions whatsoever. Grand Tournament, we saw Druid of the Saber, which was flexible, powerful card because it could either be the 2/1 charge minion or a 3/2 stealth minion. And you had Silent Knight, which was a 3 mana 2/2 with Divine Shield. Kind of taxed too hard for its keywords that it had. League of Explorers saw no stealth minions. Whispers of the Old Gods saw their own take on Worgen Infiltrator since they were corrupting a bunch of cards. They made Twisted Worgen. It was a barely stronger spin-off that only had 1 extra attack for 1 extra mana. Obviously a filler card. Karazhan had 1 stealth minion. That was Morose. It was a legendary, and it would generate 1/1s every turn. And that was actually cool for token decks. Mean Streets of Gadgetzan actually had a lot of stealth minions. They had 5 stealth minions. This was because Rogue got their trash stealth package with Shadow Rager and the Shadow Sensei. They had Jade Swarmer, which really, it didn't matter that it was a stealth minion. It was mainly important because it was a Jade minion. We got Lotus Assassin, which was a better Stranglethorn Tiger. Stranglethorn Tiger wasn't seeing play, so this didn't see any either, really. We got Shaku the Collector, which was a cool thief card, but thieves cards weren't really that important in Rogue at the time. When it came back with the Doom in the Tomb event, it did see some play in Rogue for sure because the thief stuff was going quite strong. We also got Finja the Flying Star, which was a interesting, cool Murloc synergy card that was pretty core to Murloc decks for a while there. Ungoro had 2 stealth minions, Giant Wasp and Saber-Tooth Stalker, both clearly just filler cards. Knights of the Frozen Throne had 0. Kobolds and Catacombs had 1, which was Sneaky Devil, giving an aura of +1 attack to your minions, but it was on a 2/2 body, so not worth it for 4 mana. Witchwood had just the Witchwood Imp. Booms, they had 2. They had the Cloak Scale Chemist, another clear filler card, and they had Harbinger Celestia, which is a cool idea, but it's basically an overcosted, not secret mirror entity, so you can see why that didn't work. Rostakon's Rumble had 1 card. It was Halftime Scavenger, which was definitely a cool overkill card that I wish had seen more play. I definitely like the card. Rise of Shadows had Hench Clan Sneak, another filler card. Saviors of Uldum had Wasteland Assassin, has Reborn, has Stealth, still a filler card. We had Descent of Dragons with no stealth cards, and Galakrond's Awakening had 2 stealth cards, which is Skyvateer and Escaped Manasaber. So as you can tell, there were quite a few expansions that had no stealth cards. Most of them had 1, and looking at all of them, a lot of them are just filler, useless, never gonna see play. They know that when they're printing them. They might have been useful in Arena. I mean, they were definitely useful in some way in Arena, but they were not designed to be played and constructed. I'd say the new Escape Manasaber is probably the most interesting stealth card that we've ever seen. We also had Valir the Hollow at one point, which was definitely a cool utilization of stealth because it was on the hero, and that was also only for 1 turn. But that would be cool to see come back again. But looking at stealth, the keyword as a concept, it clearly has the potential to be very, very powerful. The thing is that there's a stat tax that is attributed to it. Generally, strong keywords will have stat taxes on them, but sometimes they have less of a stat tax, and that's when cards end up being really good. The problem with this stat tax is that the stealth will often not make much of a difference. After you attack, you'll still be targetable, but before that, you won't really have the stats you need to make meaningful trades with the minions that your opponent has. And that's pretty important as the game is early on, and through the mid game, you need to be making trades with your opponent to make sure that you have a better board state than your opponent does. If you have a worse base stat line and you end up having to attack in your opponent's minion, then you can end up falling behind because your trades aren't going as well as your opponent's are. Also, because we have taunt as a keyword, you can protect your other minions with your taunt minions, and though you can't protect them from spells and such, that's still half of the job that stealth does. So it ends up being that stealth is really only relevant generally when you're trying to push for lethal, and that's at a very specific point in the game, and that's later in the game. And if you play Hearthstone, you know that throwing away your early game for your late game, especially on cheaper minions, is definitely not what you want to be doing. I don't want to include a 3-drop that's something that I want to be using in the late game, and it not be something that has great impact. Despite that, protecting a card with the stealth can be very strong in other ways. If there's an additional effect beyond the stats, that can be the thing that you really want to be protecting, right? A lot of these stealth minions have attack triggers. So when you attack, you get a upside. There's the cards like Shaku, where you get a card from your opponent's class, Finja, where you summon the Murlocs from your deck, or the new Manasaber, where you get an extra mana crystal this turn. Because it's protected for one turn, you get that more likely guaranteed to get the attack off, even though you could still get board cleared in some way. Spirits are also a very good example of how this works, in that they have that very strong passive effect, and they are actually so powerful that the developers had to make it only have stealth for the one turn. Otherwise, it could snowball out of control and be way too impactful in the game. And there have been a few spirits that have seen quite a bit of play. Specifically, the Shaman one has been pretty core to Shaman for quite a while, as it's a very strong draw engine, where you take one spell, turn it into the next spell, and go all the way through. But if you look at it, almost none of these other cards have seen any play, and what was actually really powerful about stealth was granting stealth to cards that don't already have it. Conceal was actually an incredibly powerful staple card for Rogue for a while. You would use it in conjunction with Edwin and Questing Adventurer to make huge minions, then drop the stealth on top of them, and then there's no way to remove them outside of a Twisting Nether or Deadly Shot, something like that, an untargeted removal spell. And because it was so powerful, Conceal actually ended up being Hall of Famed, so that rogues didn't have access to that anymore. Master of Disguise was a card that used to give stealth permanently, and though it didn't see very much play, it did get nerfed by the developers because of its potential, and they had to change it to stealth for one turn, because there are definitely some crazy things that could happen if you give a card stealth forever. Some very powerful combos, perhaps. Another card that bestowed stealth very recently was Camouflage Dirigible, which can give your mech stealth, but it's way too expensive for that to really fit into a mech deck. But looking at all these stealth cards, it's very clear Blizzard is scared of the stealth mechanic. I'm sure they've looked at Charge, and they know how problematic that has been in the past, and they don't want it to end up the same way, where it's a total balance issue that these stealth cards could be the strongest cards in the entire game, and definitely give a very feel-bad feeling to your opponent, or to you if you're the one having it across from you, because I think that is something that happened with Charge, and that is something that still kind of happens with Charge with Leroy Jenkins. I will be making a charge keyword breakdown at some point for sure if you want to check that out. But it is without a doubt a delicate balance to make sure that you make interesting stealth cards, but also make them not be something that totally overtakes the meta. But I also think that the more powerful, potentially broken side has never even been explored at all, and we've never even gotten really close to that. I don't know if Blizzard is really planning on going further in that direction and exploring more powerful stealth cards, but I think they just like the flavor of the cards, the flavor of the mechanic in general, and that's probably why it's there and why they're still putting it out once in a while. Anyways, what do I want to see Blizzard do with the stealth mechanic? Well, I would like them to continue pushing the bar and try to see exactly where the line is for when the game will start breaking when you push the stealth too far, just because I don't think we've gotten even close to that yet. What I would like to see is more realistic stat lines where they have less of a stat tax, because the stealth mechanic is not worth the amount of stats that we're losing to get it. Just looking back at the amount of stat taxing they used to put on taunt minions, and then you look at today, taunt minions almost never even have stat taxes at this point. They are normally well-statted minions that are intended to see lots of play, and that's why they're set up that way. But stealth is still getting the short end of the stick. What I definitely want to see is more class cards with stealth. I want to see different takes on what stealth is. Like, Rogue obviously is the one that's getting the most stealth cards because they're the sneaky class, but you could find different ways to make stealth cards for different classes, and I think that would be very cool. Especially since class cards are allowed to be stronger than neutral cards, so if we go for more class cards, then we can make stronger stealth cards that way too. My experience seeing War Druid Lodi in its full form with all of its different things actually got me thinking about the idea of a stealth taunt minion and how you could make a defensively stronger taunt minion that has the downside of having stealth so that it can't block for a turn or until it attacks. So you could actually make it overstated as long as it's not overstated offensively. If it was overstated defensively with more health, then that could be a cool idea. I'm not sure where you would want it to be at. Maybe like a 2/6 3 mana taunt with stealth. Obviously it'd have to be a class card because you don't want priests getting access to that crap with their divine spirit inner fire things. And given that rogues by definition have like no taunt minions in their class, probably can't be a rogue card either. Speaking of that, I guess technically War Druid Lodi is also a stealth minion, so let's say 52 stealth cards. I'd like to see more end of turn effects, like a stronger version of Blood Imp, or like how we had Morose with the 1/1s each turn. If we had more end of turn effects that were protected like that, that could definitely be cool. I'd like to see more aura effects like spirits have, but probably toned down. Like, if we have to make them have stealth for only one turn, that is a little bit of a limitation. Like, if we want to use the full stealth keyword, it would have to be weaker than a spirit. Although having more cards with stealth for one turn is also something we could do for sure. And I'd also definitely like to see more conditional or triggered stealth, like the One-Eyed Cheat had, where it would get the stealth from the pirates. If we had stealth that was triggered by something, or only when you have something specifically, it turns off and on in certain conditions, that could definitely be really cool. Maybe even like a card that gave adjacent minions stealth, and if you removed it, then it would lose its stealth, and then you would be able to get access to it, stuff like that. But also more interesting attack triggers, because that's clearly the thing that's worked the best for stealth minions so far, like the Manasaber, which is currently what is giving me this hope that they might continue making cool stealth cards in the future. Because this Manasaber, it is a 3/5. That is a good stat line for 4 mana, and it has an upside in addition to its stealth. That's the kind of thing I want to be seeing. Also, like, trap card type things, which, like, a secret-esque thing like Celestia was, except, like, good, because Celestia was terrible. Maybe something like that you drop it and then it's a Swamp King Dread type thing, where it will attack the next thing that comes down, but it's protected because of the stealth. Also, we still haven't seen a Lifesteal stealth yet, which could be a cool idea. But honestly, more than any of that, just more. More stealth would be great. We have barely explored the design space in the stealth mechanic, and I think it would be really cool to see more come out from it. Basically, to conclude everything, stealth is a very rarely used keyword. It's very dangerous. It could have the potential to totally break the game if you have a really powerful stealth card. But we haven't seen that, and I would love to see it explored more, and hopefully Blizzard is competent enough to try and push the bar further without ruining the game by stepping too far beyond the limits. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like if you enjoyed the video. Comment down below on your ideas of what stealth should be, what we could do with it, and what you thought about my take on it. And please subscribe for future content like this. I will be making more keyword breakdowns in the future about other keywords. I am really excited to do something like that. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.